Hi there everybody. So on today's video I have this BMW 325i. This is a 2004 and it's an e46 chassis, and it's a 6-cylinder one, and I'm gonna be changing the oil and the oil filter. I'm also gonna top up some screen wash fluid and just check the coolant there. So I'm gonna start with the screen wash fluid that goes here. This tank is fairly empty. The computer is already showing me there's no fluid in there, so I'm gonna be using screen wash fluid. I recommend using the proper stuff, and you can buy concentrated one or ready mixed, but ready mix may be easier. Just get it and pour it in there. So I wouldn't really recommend putting in there any washing up liquid like fairy liquid or anything like that. And also, if you just put water in there, it tends to freeze during winter time. If the temperatures are low enough, it will freeze, and you will be in the middle of the motorway and your windscreen is gonna get really dirty and you're not gonna have any fluid. So definitely use the recommended stuff so you don't get stuck. So this one was really empty. Don't know how many liters go in there. 5 maybe. Right. That is nice and full. So you can just go ahead and close that. I'm next going to check the coolant level, and also the level of antifreeze, or the percentage of antifreeze. So if the engine's been running, just be careful when opening this cap, as it can be very hot, and obviously this can spray, the pressure can spray water out and you can get burned. So just be aware of that. If it's cold, then it's okay, but if it has been running, this can be very hot. So just open this cap very, very slowly, or just wait for the car to cool down, and then there's no issues. So that's the little level stick there. You have two bolts on this stick. You have the one at the bottom there and this one at the top, bottom and top. So ideally I want this floater to be up here, so this ball here will be in line with this. But this is okay, this is a good level anyway. It's just in between high and low. So I mean, we can top it up if need be. I don't know how much that would be, 100 mil or so, small amount. And with this device we can check the percentage of the antifreeze, and you can also check the condition of the antifreeze. You can see it's quite nice and clear, and it's giving me around minus 25. So that means it will need to get to minus 25 for that to freeze. So this is good for winter. It's definitely not going to be freezing unless you drive to Siberia or somewhere up north. but I don't think here in the UK. So this is okay. I'm gonna maybe top up a little bit of just the water in there, and then that should be fine. Now now we can move on to the oil and the oil filter. Make sure that it's properly closed. I'm just leaving it open because I'm going to top it up. So we can move on to the oil and the oil filter. So to do that, I'm going to open this cap here. This car has been parked there for a little while, so I'm just going to open the cap and leave it there. And also I'm going to try to pull the dipstick here, which might be a little bit hard as well, but we should be able to pull that dipstick out. Right. Instead of ripping off my finger, I could just use a bit of help with the screwdriver there. And again, I'm gonna leave that open, and this just allows some air to get into the system when we drain it from underneath. And our oil filter will be here, and for that I'm going to be using this 36mm socket, and these are just tightened to 25 Newton meters, so it shouldn't really be that hard. But then again, this car has been sitting for some time, so it may have got stuck a little bit, but yep, did get stuck a bit. So I may just need my 2 hands here. Okay, let's give this a go again. And let the filter sit there for a little while, not too long, 5 minutes or so. Just let it drain itself into the housing there, and then when you take it out, it's not going to be messy. The filter I'm going to be using is this Bosch filter P7003. These are the other makes that make the same filter with those numbers there. The filter should come with usually comes with a copper washer for your sun plug and an O-ring to replace the old O-ring on this cover. Okay. And also your filter usually will come with these O-rings. Although it seems like mine didn't come, and that's because I noticed the filter was already open, so I think somebody may have taken some things out. Nevertheless, we can at least change the bottom one. So as you can see, a bit of oil is dripping from here and making a mess, so this is why I recommend leaving it there maybe 5 minutes or so. To avoid any oil going anywhere. This filter then just basically pulls out. But can sometimes be a bit difficult to pull it out. Not sure it should be that hard, but I suppose it has been there for a long time, and the car was just sitting. It's been sitting around, so I'm trying to pull this out. Okay, so it was definitely hard to pull it out, but it was just basically really stuck at the bottom, the rubber bit. If you're frequently changing your filter every year, it won't be that hard to pull out, but like I said, this one's been there for sitting there. The car has been serviced, but it's been sitting here for some time because we bought it a while ago. So we can dispose of the filter, and then this is the O-ring we need to change. That's the O-ring there, and then usually these two will also come with the filter, but in this case I haven't seen them in there, so I'm going to leave them for now. Okay, so now I'm gonna get the car up and we can drain the oil. You can cover this area if you're working outside. Try to cover this area with a rag or some paper, just so you don't get any leaves or anything going in there, dirt or anything like that, which is going to go into the engine. So just cover it, and then while you drain your oil, this is going to be covered, and then you're safe. That's why I'm also leaving this cap on there. So okay, let's get the car up now. So looking at the car from underneath, got the sump in here, the sump plug just there. I think there should be a little cover here which is disappeared. That sump plug bolt is a 17mm, so I'm just gonna crack that open and we can open that and drain the oil. Just remember, if the engine's been running, that oil also can be very hot and you can burn yourself, so just be careful if your engine is hot. And again, you can wait a little while to let the engine cool down. And make sure you have an oil pan to catch the oil. And you should also get the little copper washer. Okay, so while that is dripping, we can just prepare our filter here. So I've got the filter here, that will go in there. Just have to push it in there, like so, and the new O-ring will also go in there, like so. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of grease around this O-ring. So it can then slide nicely when we tighten this up. Now that's the old copper washer. Got a new one here. Put that in there. And we can dispose of this one. So all of this is ready to be fitted back. Now I'm just gonna wait for the oil to drain and then we can refit our sump plug bolt. Okay, that's been dripping for some time. Now I'm just gonna get my sump plug back in there. With the new copper washer. clean the area so we know there's no drips there, and then we can (14 to 22 Newton meters to tighten that bolt. It isn't really that tight, so just be gentle with it. Anyway, once you've put some oil in the car and you run the engine, you can check if you have any drips here. If you do, you can tighten that a little bit more, but the copper washer there is very good at making a seal. Okay, so now I'm just going to lower the car and we can refit our new filter and top up some oil. Okay, so we're ready to get our filter back in there. And like I said before, on this cover it says you should tighten this to 25 Newton meters. So if you have a torque wrench, you can tighten this to the required amount. I just like to get this in by hand to make sure it's going in the right direction, because if I start tightening in with this and it's at an angle, this will get damaged. So I can see it's all nice and straight down here, and I was able to tighten it a bit. Now I can use the wrench, because this is the bit where the O-ring goes in, and obviously it's a little bit tight. But thanks to the grease we put on the O-ring, it's easier to tighten. Now I haven't got my torque wrench, but I've done this so many times. So 25 Newton meters isn't a lot of force. Just make sure this is nice and close, and it should be fine. Now the manual says 6.5 liters. I'm gonna use 5W30. If we look at our dipstick here, we have two sections here, so we're gonna have the minimum at this end and the maximum on this end. So normally if you're checking the oil through the year, you want to be somewhere in between the min and the max. If you're at the mean, obviously you want to top up a little bit, but now we're gonna put 6.5 liters, and that's gonna take us maybe just above the max until we run the engine, because some of the oil will go into the housing, which will then bring the oil to the max section. Okay, so I've got 5 liters in there. And that's it. That should be our 6.5. Close that, and we can check the dipstick here. So you might be able to see the wet area there is just gone up to this line here, and obviously the oil is still draining a bit, so it might take us up a little bit. Okay, so now we're pretty much above, just at the full, a little bit above the full. We can get our engine running, and that should be it, really. So we'll just check the oil one more time. So you'll be able to see that the oil is just settling down a little bit below the max area now. It's just somewhere around here, but ideally you want to check it once it's cooled down in the morning, maybe after letting it all night to sit there, and and then all the oil will go down, and then you can have a proper figure. So that's pretty much it, really. I hope this video helps. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.